Hello! I tell you this, I'm glad that I don't have any plans to make music beds or visualizers for a little while. It was a fun experience, but it was quite a task. It did actually require some stupidly self-imposed pressure to get it to actually be finished, but it had to be done. My brain sort of demanded it. My brain also sort of demanded I tell you about the process, which is why you're getting this video. Sorry! So back in January 2022, I put out a roadmap, and in it I stated that I wanted to develop some extended music beds so that each video had a connected but different audio experience. I was planning on 3 beds at the time, relaxed, upbeat and atmospheric, and I was also planning on doing some to do with special events like Christmas and Halloween. So the first thing I did was I went to the YouTube library. If you have a channel of your own, you can access it yourself. It's mostly royalty free. Actually, it might all be royalty free, but some tracks do require you to give credit to the artist if you want to use them. So I went in and I sorted and filtered the list. So I made it so attribution, which is credit, was not required, that the length was shorter than 5 minutes. I had it so that it was showing 100 tracks per page, and I put everything in alphabetical order. So I have never used genre or mood to sort or pick tracks, because I don't know if it's the artists or YouTube, but sometimes their decision doesn't match what I think it should be. Also in filtering, sometimes you miss out on potential songs, and I didn't want to do that. So yes, I never put any genre or mood in. I may have ended up with quite a few that were similar, but that is just the sort of feel. So yes, I spent the next while just listening to the music on this list, track after track, and just downloading anything that sounded nice or that sounded like it would fit into one of the themes. Over the course of, so it took me, when did I say I put that out? I put the roadmap out in January 30th, and the roadmap was at the beginning of January. The music beds came out at the beginning of February. So over that entire period of time, my themes sort of changed, but the way I went through the music didn't. So this listening and selecting to music was actually going fine until I noticed that the number of songs was decreasing after each page. So I actually got to 2,300 before it stopped letting me go on to the next page. If you look at the number on the first page, I think it might have added a few by now, but it's currently got more than 4,400, and it wouldn't let me past 2,300. It was quite obvious this wasn't right because I hadn't got past the M's. If you know what my channel theme tune is, which is Meat and Fun by Offset, I hadn't even reached that in the alphabet. I was still at MA. So after a bit of brain work, yes, I don't do that very well, I figured out that the solution was to reverse the sort, so that's putting it in reverse alphabeticals, so rather than A to Z, it's Z to A, and then numbers and symbols are at the other ends. Then I had to go forward in the list until I found the overlap zone, so where the letters were what I'd seen at the end of the other one, and work backwards. So that was listening to chunks in the wrong sort of alphabetical order and then going back a page towards the Z's. That was a load of faff. It also didn't help that I was doing this over a period of several days, so when I stopped to go to work or go to sleep, I ended up basically undoing all of the filtering and going through the pages, so I kept having to make notes. Yeah, that was a big pain. Another spanner in the works of getting together the music was the fact that I find purely sitting and listening to music boring. Yes. I tried listening and working at the same time, but I don't know if it's just me, but when I focus on one task, I sort of zone in on that task and zone out of everything else, which means I was tuning out the music. This meant I was actually not listening to the music and figuring out if it actually matched the audio requirements. It also tended to lead to me finding out that I'd skipped through about 5 songs before I realised, which meant I then had to go back through and listen to all 5 songs again. Yeah, that kind of wasted a bit of time. So after I had the music all downloaded, I needed to listen through it all again and organise it into themes. I had sort of been doing this sorting between sessions, but like I said previously, my themes were changing, so I needed to review everything again. So I originally said I was doing relaxing, upbeat and atmospheric, and at this point in time I had 5 themes. I had Crafter, Mover, Adventurer, Investigator and Survivor, plus Festive and Halloween. Crafter was to help relax and get things done, giving assistance when doing hobbying or crafting. Mover was meant to get your body moving, and it needed to be action-packed and high-paced. Adventurer was supposed to inspire your adventuring spirit with a long journey and hard task vibe. Investigator was supposed to bring a smile to your face with a comical but dramatic feel. And Survivor was supposed to increase the tension but in an atmospheric manner. So, when reviewing the music, I found that there was a lot of crossover and a lot of songs that I didn't like that didn't fit in any themes of any sort. So, let's see, there was an instance where a lot of the music I'd picked for crafters I didn't like anymore, because the theme was either putting me to the music was putting me to sleep or making me feel very sad, and considering it was supposed to be helping you by hobbying, I didn't really think that was a good idea. You don't really want to be falling asleep with a hobby unless it's something you do as a hobby to help you go to sleep. But mine aren't usually that. Survivors got scrapped. I didn't like the name Survivor. It didn't quite fit with what I was going for, and also just the term Survivor itself I didn't really like. I couldn't get a consistent sound for the tracks, and I'm also not into horror or scares, so I didn't actually feel that I would be putting that music bed to use. I kind of have places for the ones I've got now. So what I did was I scrapped Survivor and I took the bits that were going to be making Survivor and I sort of distributed it into other ones like Halloween and Adventurer. Investigator also got scrapped. That was the comedic one, because it was meant to sound funny. It was sort of like supposed to be like a jokey, oh, this is serious music, but a lot of the music was jazz. Now I don't like jazz. It's not one of my genres. You'll notice I like dance music, pop quite a bit if you listen to any of the current tracks. But I also didn't like the fact that because I was picking all jazz and it was supposed to be a comical humour thing, that I might be taking people might take the sort of relationship of the type of music it was supposed to represent and the fact that it was all one type and take it in bad taste. So that one got scrapped again. I think quite a few of the bits from Investigator actually got taken and put in like a situational folder so that they'll come up if I ever need anything that's supposed to be like a car chase sort of vibe. So after sorting all the music, I got back to 3 main beds: crafters, gamers and adventurers. Now the themes became possessive in name as in a way to associate them with the content. So, you know, crafters will have music that you can craft next to gamers and stuff. Now that I had all the music, it was time to put the music bed together. So I didn't, for most of the beds, I didn't want to set a specific track order or a specific I didn't want to group the artists and the sounds and the titles together, and I wanted the sound to change, so like it could be quite upbeat in one bit but then calming in another. So what I did was I just randomised the order in Excel, except for Adventurer. That one is the one that I had much bigger plans for, and so I just took the random order and just slotted everything together over in Adobe, what's it called? Adobe Audition. I use a lot of Adobe products at the moment, so yes, I actually found it quite a nice piece of software. So I sorted all the pieces of music, and then it was time to make the visualizers. I wasn't going to be using the music beds until I had the music visualizers, because I wanted to be able to send people from the music that was using the music beds to the music bed visualizers, so that people could then use them either just to listen to the full music bed or move on to see the other artists' works. It was sort of like a mental requirement. It didn't really need to be there, but otherwise I'd have to be fixing things while I was still working. Anyway, on to the next point. So, remember at the beginning I mentioned a big dollop of stupidly self-imposed pressure? This is when that came around. So on January 30th, I put out a schedule for the week 31st of January with a typo. Oh, okay, I'm not perfect. On it, I declared I had 4 visualizers coming out that week and another one for the week after. Being slightly smart, I don't put names on the schedule now, just the number. So, the number's always in order unless something really goes wrong. Whereas if I put a name up there, I'm committing to that specific thing. Otherwise, I can just move things around. The problem was I had the music beds, but I didn't have the visualizers at this time. So I think I got the schedule sorted on the Saturday. So I had Sunday, and I had Sunday to make the first visualizer. This is not made the visualizer as in I didn't have the spectrums, I didn't have any reactive or moving elements, I didn't even have the base graphical images. So if you're watching the Makes graphics series, you'll see me making them. I think I have about 15 episodes worth of graphical stuff that is me making the visualizers, and I did this in a period of a week. I did say stupid, right? This was because of my usual half-cooked wisdom, where I predicted it wouldn't take me long to make the elements and then put them together into an actual visualizer. I forgot, as always, that I get very tunnel visionally and like to add items in on the fly, usually because I'm like, ooh, this would be cool, or this should be in here, it has to be in here. I also forgot I was working with quite long music tracks. The longest music track is almost 5.5 hours long. Adobe After Effects was not a happy bunny. So Adobe After Effects is the animation software of the Adobe package. There is another one, which actually might just be called Adobe Animate, which is slightly different. But After Effects is generally things you do effects in. So Adobe After Effects will only work at a maximum length of 3 hours. So I had to chunk the music into reasonable sections. I think I went for let's see, I said 5 hours, so I think I made 2-hour chunks for that one. The problem is Adobe doesn't like working with a lot of elements, especially if you're trying to make it so that something's audio reactive. So when something moves to a beat, trying to do that for a 3-hour long piece of track, which is quite intense, so gamer, Adobe just crashed. Another problem with Adobe is if you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of hard to do it. And then also I'm not very good with timings, which was a slightly different problem. This was all crammed into a diminished time frame, the making on Adobe, because I'd taken so long making the elements. I think the elements came out pretty good. They were pretty decent graphics. But again, while I was making them, I was trying to do things I didn't know how to do. Like textures. I'll never learn. But I did get them all out in time. And aside from Gamer and I think Festive was a little disappointing as well for me. I may be fine for you, but I was actually quite pleased with them all. Then I sort of went on to the second week. Now I'd learnt a bit from the first week, so give myself more time. Give myself more time. Then I still managed to eat most of it away, because this music bed I hadn't finished making yet. So, the Adventurers music bed. That was a different level of challenging. My grand plan was that there were different stages in the adventuring music bed that could be sort of set out on their own, so you could feel an adventure going through. So it started with a journey leading to a challenge or a fight with a dark, sad period, possibly because you've failed the challenge or just because it was that hard that you're just exhausted. The hero would then rise up, ready to face the next one, the next challenge, and go into that one, and then there would be a celebration, or they would just move straight on to the next calm part of the journey. That kind of feel is hard to do with a jumble of music. Fortunately, a large portion of the music I'd picked had the cinematic genre, so sound-wise it was a little bit more consistent. It took up my entire weekend organising the tracks and making the music sound right, or mostly sound right. And then I started focusing on the elements. I think I'd set the Wednesday for releasing that one. I really should know. So that aspect was a lot easier because I already knew what I wanted and how to animate it, and I'd done a little experimenting while making the others, that I'd actually got a few things already sorted. So my idea was already fire breathing dragon, stationary knight, and a gravesite with potentially an arm moving around that I could ditch if I ran out of time. I almost messed up on the final hurdle for an adventurer. So I've mentioned Adobe After Effects and Adobe Audition, the music one. I actually also employed Adobe Premiere Pro because Premiere Pro will deal with videos of the length I needed, so 5 hours and a bit. So I could put everything in one. But also it's better for transitions. And I wanted to have all of the credit-based messages, so the names of the artists and the name of the song, on the screen. So After Effects had chunks in it, which then fed into Premiere to make a whole, and this was how the end video produced. Now, I've mentioned credit messages. I used a total of 351 different tracks on 5 different visualizers. Each visualizer needed its set of tasks, its set of tracks and artists putting up and then correctly aligning with the switch points in the music tracks, and then also needed transitions attaching so that the name would change at the right time, and in a way that wasn't like disconnecting. So I think some of them I have sort of wiping. How exactly did I mess up at this? Well, I did half of the adventuring track names, then stopped the session, went away, came back and did something else, and then went to send it to encoding. So I almost ended up with half of the adventuring things with the wrong track names and the wrong artists. Some of these track names were actually from other music beds because I just used filling spots while filling text while getting the timings right. So yeah, considering that encoding the larger music beds took from me probably setting it off at 11 o'clock at the earliest, probably 2 o'clock at the latest, until beyond 7 o'clock in the morning. You can see why if that had had a problem, I would have had a problem. So after encoding, which was basically just leaving the computer to work itself out, it was just a case of uploading the files very slowly to YouTube and then making appropriate blurbs. So for the bigger ones like Adventurer and Crafter, I can't remember if Gamer has this. I didn't put in manual chapters, so chapters are the numbers in the description that you can press that skip you through the video. I tend to put in manual chapters because I'm not too keen on auto. I'm not sure how good auto is. The only problem is these chapters need to be 10 seconds minimum, so I think actually some of mine don't actually work for other things because anyway. Blurbs have a character limit of 5,000 characters. Like I said, I had 350. I wasn't putting 350 on each one, but for the bigger ones, I had to go manual chapters in the description, because I was putting links to the playlists of the artists, and they were taking up a lot of space. So the Adventurers one, I think that's the biggest one in terms of the amount of different tracks and artists. The blurb on that took 2,920 characters of 5,000 without having the links to chapters. So that would have been 00.00 and whatnot. So like about six number based pieces, and then the name of the track, maybe with the name of the artist as the chapter sort of bit. You can see why it didn't have enough space. Yeah, from all that came music visualizers 4 through 8. So like I said, Crafter, Gamer, Adventurer, Haunted, it became Haunted, and Festive, all of which are over on the channel. So, like I said, I now have several weeks of graphic videos ready in backlog for these visualizer events. And I really enjoyed crafting each of them. Probably why I wasted a bit of time, because I spent so long getting more detail on these. I'll probably go back to elements that I wasn't happy with, such as the animations in Festive. These elements probably won't reach the light of day unless I start the animation series, so there's some more incentives to start that up. But yeah, so it was, what was it again? Get music, sort music, make elements, shove elements out in the world. Yeah, I think that covers everything. That was the visualizer journey and all the hubbub. Sorry, this is not really a mix video because you're not seeing me make something, you're seeing when I've made something. But I hope the experience is interesting. But yes, that is me finished, which means it's time to sign off. Thank you for sticking through to the end of this video, and if you like what you saw and want some more, why not hit the like button, maybe subscribe, and then check out one of the videos or playlists soon popping up on the screen. Or just head over to the channel for even more options. Already subscribed? Then hit the bell icon here or on the channel and get notified when new videos go live. As well as being here, you can also find us over on Twitter and Instagram. Links are provided in the description below. But either way, it's bye for now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.